Hello, wonderful people. Very excited to be here. I hope you're all doing great. We have an interesting discussion today. We're going to be sharing an immigrant story or discussing an immigrant story. It's a very interesting story. So join the live and don't forget to share the link with your friends so that they can join us. I was having difficulty with Instagram, but I think it should be fine now. Hello, Instagram. Good evening to you all. Very excited to be here. We're discussing an immigrant story today. So it's story time. It's about a 15-year-old boy. Very exciting, well, interesting story. So join in. And guys, if you can hear me very well, you can see me, everything looks good. Please drop me an emoji of the US flag. Let me feel your presence in the house. And then we can get started. Okay, drop me your emojis as soon as I see about 5 emojis. I know that we're good to go. We're live on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube, and on TikTok. Drop me an emoji of the US flag so that I can be sure that you guys can see me. It looks like Instagram is very good to go. Instagram, they're dropping me their flags. I'm not getting any signal from the Facebookers, from the YouTubers, the LinkedIners, Twitters, and then TikTok. Okay, so yes, I see the Instagram people in the house. Okay, so this story, guys, let's talk about it. So there's I believe this case was reported in 2014, so it's been a while. It concerns a 15-year-old Ghanaian boy. I was supposed to share my screen on Facebook, but the page looks really small, so I won't bother to share it. I may share it at some point, so stick with us, okay? So the case is quite a long case, but it's divided into two legal lessons or legal principles. So we won't go through the entire thing. So the first part we'll be discussing has to do with fraud and misrepresentation as it happened at a US international airport some years ago concerning a 15-year-old Ghanaian boy. Now, the second part of the case actually concerns the boy when he's now got a grown up. He's a Ghanaian man now. He subsequently, let me not spoil the story. I'll get to that, what happened to him when he grew up, and then we can talk about it. Okay, so this was the case actually occurred in 2001. Okay, it occurred in 2001. The applicant of the appeal, this was an appeal that was filed to the administrative appeal office, because he had filed a petition, and a US immigration petition that was denied. And so they take us back to what actually happened, why he was inadmissible or unable to be granted a green card. It was because of something he did when he was 15 years old. Okay. So when this boy was 15 years old, he was a Ghanaian, of course. He came to New York. He arrived at JFK Airport. And this was September 8th, 2001. He landed. That's when he actually landed at JFK. And when he landed at JFK, something unfortunate happened. He actually presented a photo switched Ghanaian passport as well as a US visitor's visa in the name of someone. Okay. When we say a photo switched Ghanaian passport, this means that the 15-year-old Ghanaian boy, it was not really his passport. It was someone else's passport that he had gotten, he had procured by some means. And he had switched the person's passport with his. So now it was his picture that was in the passport. The passport also happened to have a US visitor's visa, a B2 visa. And so this boy landed at JFK. I'm sure he was excited to come to America. And then during the time, of course, when you come in, you go for inspection. The CBP officers will inspect, and then they can admit you if everything is fine. Inspection means they'll question you to make sure that you are admissible, clearly admissible. Now, when they inspected him, something wasn't quite right. So the officer sent him into secondary inspection. So when they inspect you at first, it's called primary inspection. When you get into the box, they're like, okay, where are you from? Where are you going? What's your name? Who are you visiting in the US? So primary inspection, there was a problem. So they sent this boy, 15-year-old minor, into secondary inspection. I'm sure the boy's heart was beaten. My poor Ghanaian boy, his heart was beaten because he was like, oh my God, what's going on? So when he was sent into secondary inspection, they questioned him, and they had concerns about the passport. And then, so guys, bear in mind that at that time in 2001, this was September 8th, 2001, when this happened. At that time, they hadn't started the biometric, collecting biometric information of travelers at the airport. So the guy gave a sworn statement. The little boy gave a sworn statement that he was the owner of that passport that they were seeing, and that yes, he had previously visited the US as a tourist. And then after, I believe they heckled, like they really pushed him. They kept questioning him. Sometimes they'll just question you for hours. You have a lot of officers depending on what the issue is. Maybe a couple of them, maybe three, and then they'll keep, like, you won't even eat. You are hungry, you are stressed, and then they will put a lot of pressure on you. So second sworn statement that the boy gave that same day, he now admitted his true identity. So imagine this 15-year-old Ghanaian boy at an airport being questioned. And then he conceded, he admitted that the passport and the visa did not belong to him, and that he had actually lied when he said the passport was his. And that was the problem. Based on this admission of this 15-year-old boy, he was slapped with a permanent inadmissibility under section 212A6CI. Okay, 212A6CI. Let me tell you exactly what this section provides. This is section 212A6CI of the Immigration and Nationality Act, which is the statutes that largely regulates immigration laws in the US. The section says, an alien or any alien who by fraud or willfully misrepresenting a material fact seeks to procure or has sought to procure or has procured a visa, other documentation or admission into the United States or other benefits provided under this act is inadmissible. Inadmissible means that you're not going to be allowed to come into the US. You'll be put in expedited removal and you'll be banned for 5 years. Like, you are just permanently banned or permanently barred from entering the US. So this boy was slapped with this under US immigration laws. Okay. Now let's go into the key facts of the case, like what happened. I mean, well, maybe I should move to after this happened. Here's what happened. The guy, by some means, he came back into the US. And when he came back into the US, he got married to a US citizen, and they were able to give birth to 2 children. Okay, they had 2 children. So his wife filed for him. So this 15-year-old boy grew up into a man, got married, his wife filed for him an immigrant visa petition for him to get a green card. Unfortunately, they refused it and said that because of that inadmissibility issue that he had when he was a 15-year-old boy, he is unable to be granted a green card. They are not going to approve his application. Now, his lawyer filed an application to challenge the various issues that had been raised. So we're going to look into the, what goes into misrepresentation and what goes into fraud. And then we can draw some lessons out of it. Okay. So the lawyer again filed a waiver application for him. We won't discuss the waiver application where he had to prove or show that extreme hardship would be caused to his U.S. citizen wife and children if he wasn't granted a green card. But we'll be looking mainly at the misrepresentation and fraud of a minor. Okay, so okay, so one of the arguments that his lawyer put up was that, look, this guy was a 15-year-old boy and he didn't have, at the time he presented the photo switched passport, he really lacked capacity at the time to actually commit fraud or willful misrepresentation of a material fact. Additionally, the lawyer was arguing that there was a timely retraction of the misrepresentation based on the admission that the guy had made concerning the issue. And then, of course, the lawyer also argued that, look, in any case, the guy didn't even benefit from the fraud he committed. So please don't hold it against him. Now you will realize that the the board or the office that was adjudicating this application threw out all those arguments. They said none of those arguments could hold water. So let's discuss it. Okay, so let's see for the first one. Guys, hold on. Let me skip to the next page. Let me see. Okay, so now let's talk about the fact that he was a 15-year-old boy and whether he could actually be held responsible or could be ineligible based on misrepresentation. Did he actually lack capacity? Okay, so now please guys realize that when it comes to misrepresentation and fraud, you cannot just use your age that, oh, I'm a 17-year-old boy or I'm a 15-year-old boy or 14-year-old boy. So please, I didn't know what I was doing. Forgive me. No, the court or the board or the administrator, whoever is the body adjudicating the application, they're going to look at some factors. It's not just about your age. They will check to see if you truly had capacity. Number one, they do an individualized inquiry into the applicant's maturity level and your ability to understand the nature as well as the consequences of the false claims you are making. So if you are a 13-year-old boy and they realize that this guy actually understood that he was lying and he was deliberately concealing a fact, then you cannot use your age to claim innocence, or you cannot use your age as an excuse. Okay, so they'll perform that individualized inquiry to see, and they realize that in this specific case, despite the fact that this 15-year-old boy was, Ghanaian boy was still young, he actually had or he possessed the legal capacity to make the willful misrepresentation. So they did not buy that argument. Next, the lawyer of the boy was saying that, oh, look, guys, this 15-year-old Ghanaian boy was acting in desperation and he was acting under duress. Counsel asserts that the applicant was acting in desperation and duress because of the trauma he experienced in Ghana. Counsel also cites, so the counsel now cited to an asylum case where they discussed the psychological effects of, like the impact that when you're under duress, it could have on your psyche. And unfortunately, they didn't buy that argument as well. They said it was irrelevant. The boy was not, he was not an asylum seeker. So that argument would not be bought. Okay. They held that the boy was just inadmissible because it was a willful misrepresentation and his age would not help him. Now, guys, hold on. I'm going to pull this up right here and then we can go into some other very interesting matters. If you guys will notice this, what happened was that, so September 11th, 2001, that was when there was the what's that, the September 11th, the terrorist attack in the US. So this case actually happened 3 days before the September 11th issue. Okay. 3 days before this. So this boy was one of the very last people who could actually benefit from using another person's passport. These days, you can't do that anymore because now there's, they've implemented all these biometrics at the airport. Like how do I say, they've government agencies like the CBP, they've begun using biometrics. So you will have your fingerprints that matches with your passport. So if you're not the bearer of the passport, you'll be caught. But before September 11th, September 9th, September 11th, I'm sorry, 2011, people were doing these type of things, especially our people from Ghana, Nigeria, and other parts of the world. So this 15-year-old boy's case happened 3 days before the September 11th issue. And unfortunately for him, he was busted. Now let's take a look at, again, misrepresentation by minors. Okay, so here are the things they look at. The officer should consider all relevant factors. So I'm now using the USCIS policy manual. And then, let's discuss the features. They'll look at your age. They'll look at your level of education. They'll look at your background, right? How sophisticated are you? Was it just like, were you just an innocent boy and your mom just gave you the passport, said, oh, this is your passport, you didn't know about it? Or were you actually in on the fraud? They'll look at your mental capacity. How mature are you? So after they interacted with the boy, they realized that this boy knew what he was doing. What was your level of understanding, the ability to appreciate the difference between true and false, and other relevant circumstances. So the fact that a misrepresentation occurs when a person is under 18 years in particular is not determinative. There is no categorical rule that someone under 18, as a matter of law, cannot make a willful misrepresentation. A person may be able to claim, however, that on the basis of the facts of his or her own case, he or she lacked the capacity necessary to form a willful intent to misrepresent a material fact. Okay, so as I said, this is an individualized inquiry they'll do to make sure that this person, that's why the fact that he's under 18, is really, he really lacked capacity to make those poor choices at the time. Okay, now let's talk about timely retraction. Sometimes when I evaluate some cases where people have been given the misrepresentation bar, you'll realize that some people that situation did not warrant the misrepresentation bar. There's something known as timely retraction. A timely retraction is a defense. It's a very good defense to inadmissibility for fraud or willful misrepresentation. Okay, so if you are actually slapped with willful misrepresentation, you can show that, look, in my defense, I did a timely retraction of the lies I was telling you guys. So you cannot bar me. So timely retraction is a very good defense. However, in order for your retraction to be valid in law, it has to have two features, right? It has to be voluntary. It has to be timely. Voluntary means, you know what voluntary means? It means, you owned up on your own free will. You weren't coerced into telling the truth. And then secondly, it had to be timely. What does timely mean? The law has defined what timely means. Okay, so you don't wait until you are actually busted or caught before you try to confess. You should try to make the confession before you are actually caught. Okay, now a retraction can be voluntary and timely if it's made in response. Okay, so the applicant must correct his or her representation before being exposed. That is a timely retraction. If you are able to correct the false representation or the potential false representation before you are actually exposed by the officer or the U.S. government official, or before the conclusion of the proceeding during which you gave the false testimony. A retraction can be voluntary and timely if it's made in response to an officer's question during which the officer gives the applicant a chance to explain or to correct a potential misrepresentation. Now, if you admit to a false representation after USCIS has challenged the veracity of the claim, then it's not a timely retraction. Okay, now let me give you an example. For example, an applicant's recantation of the false testimony is neither voluntary nor timely if you make it a year later and you make it only after it becomes apparent or obvious that the disclosure of the falsity of the statement is imminent. So when you realize that, oh my God, they're almost going to catch you, like, okay, it looks like this one, they're almost going to catch you, like they're almost going to catch me. Let me just tell them the truth. That's not timely. Okay, it's not timely. So you have to be sure, you have to be careful about these things. Sometimes I have people who tell me, oh, I made this mistake when I was filling the forms. When I go for the interview, should I tell them? I'm like, yeah. As soon as you get there for the interview, don't wait for the officer to raise it. When you get there, draw their attention to the fact that I made a mistake here. Don't wait until they catch you and then you're like, oh, I was going to tell you. See, it makes you less credible. So you want to be as credible as possible. So you volunteer that, oh, I made a mistake here. Unfortunately, I couldn't correct it. So that it's seen as a timely retraction. And they don't say that, well, how do we know you weren't going to just keep quiet if we hadn't caught you? Like if the officer now asks you and you now respond, it makes it a little bit difficult for them to believe you. Okay. All right. So now let's go back to our case. Okay. So I just wanted to bring out these issues so that you guys would appreciate some more what the timely retraction was all about. Okay. Was there something else I wanted to discuss with you guys? Yeah, I think pretty much that's it. I don't want this to be too, I don't want us to go on and on. But yes, so that's the story of this 15-year-old boy who he came to JFK, presented a photo switched Ghanaian passport and said it was him. Apparently it was not him. They did not buy his argument that, oh, he was a minor and oh, there was a timely retraction. Oh, and the last thing is when the lawyer was like, oh, he didn't even benefit from his fraud. Unfortunately, you see, if you're an armed robber and you are caught in someone's house and you went, you had eyed some, iPhone 14 Pro Max that you were going to steal. And you didn't even get to steal this iPhone 14 Pro Max, and then they caught you. Are you going to say that, oh, please let me go because look, after I haven't even enjoyed stealing this thing, I didn't get it. It doesn't matter. That's why the law has made provision for all the people, all the attempts. So they say any alien who by fraud or willfully misrepresenting a material fact seeks to procure or has sought to procure or has procured. You see, so they've made provision for all these things. So you seek to procure, that's an attempt. You were seeking to procure. You sought to procure or you have procured. So it doesn't matter that, oh, the trick didn't work or your fraud didn't work. They don't care about that you didn't benefit from your fraud or you didn't enjoy the fruits of your labor. You will be held, you'll be inadmissible. Okay, guys, so we'll go into the second part of this story another time. I'll go to the second part when this 15-year-old boy has now become a man. He has a family, he's a family man. And then we'll discuss the good news that actually happened and how he arrived at that, at that decision, how they arrived at that decision, the factors they considered before actually forgiving him of this crime he committed when he was a minor. Okay, drop your questions and your concerns, and then I'll try to respond to them. So, guys, misrepresentation, fraud under U.S. immigration law is a big problem. If you have these things, you can contact us and we can help you to file the appropriate waiver depending on the type of application you're trying to you're trying to file. Danzel 2016 says, I live in Ohio, Bellefontaine. Please, I'll call you after this program. Sure, you can call us now. There's someone waiting to receive your call and hear from you. So feel free to call us now. RB International 3 says, very good. Thank you, guys. Asa for real says, I'm sorry, Attorney Poku, we should teach our fellow Nigerians that honesty is the best policy. I know what I'm saying. My husband is a great example of this. I paid serious money for his act of doing such. Yeah, it's a big problem. There's a lot of issues surrounding this. So Asafariel says, thanks for speaking on this. Thank you, Asafariel. It hits home for you because of your experience. What is the number to call? 802-780-0564. Just, you should be able to, even Google AK Poku and you'll find our number right there on Google. You should also find it on Instagram. Our link is in the bio. And then you'll be able to find it. Let me see if I can read some comments from the LinkedIners. Oh yeah, I figured you guys couldn't see it well. Ni Azubochi dropped the US flag. Bernard Boabeng dropped the Ghana flag. And then Mibaka Coco, he dropped two flags. I can't recognize what flag that is. And then Uye Good on YouTube says, I can't see it all. Yes, I'm sorry. The screen, I don't know why Restream doesn't allow us to zoom into the document. It used to, I believe there's another, that some of these other video platforms allows you to zoom, but this, I don't know why I find it difficult. I need to figure it out. Maybe there's a way. Pedu Akwesi Sini says good education. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for watching. Now let me see if there's some other comments. If not, we will call it a day. Let me see on TikTok. Guys, if you haven't followed the pages, please follow our pages, like, and keep dropping your US flag in the comment section. Keep dropping the flags. If you've enjoyed the education, if you enjoyed the story of the 15-year-old Ghanaian boy, drop me your US flag emoji or whichever other emoji you can find. You can drop the US flag emoji or the emoji of your country. If you're proud of your country, you can drop that emoji as well. Yeah, TikTokers, there's a lot of I'm not able to scroll through. I see a lot of notifications about people liking the video. What happens when USCIS, this is Enoch 25. What happens if USCIS finds out you worked off campus as an international student? It depends. Are you still an international student or your CVS has been terminated? Are you trying to adjust your status through marriage? It just really depends. If you violated the terms of your F1, normally it comes to your attention. They may terminate. You'll no longer have valid status. I don't know if you're trying to adjust or what's going on. So you can contact us and we'll be of assistance to you. Okay, send us more information about this. Fanning 0888 says, lawyer, can one contact USCIS if told you have dual alien numbers? Fanning, please contact us and let's see how we can help you with that type of challenge you're having, okay? Oh my gosh. There's somebody who actually is sending a request to join. I see a few of them usually on TikTok as well. All right, guys. Thanks a lot for joining us. Don't forget to like, share, comment, follow the page. Hopefully, I'll see you guys in our next video. I wish you a wonderful rest of your day. Take care. Be safe. Bye.